This is how my dragon soul tripled in size in 2 months.
Why is this thing so important in your tank? So when I just started to keep corals, I thought that the most important thing that you could have in your tank was the lighting. Lights are very important, but we're going to see why this is probably the most important thing to keep your fish and corals alive. So first, let's see how we got here.
Today.
So something I like to do is to take the pump out by itself. I'll just go ahead and dip it into some water. And in that bucket of water, I like to add some of this citric acid. I normally use about a quarter of this each time. Here goes nothing. And then I just kind of eyeball it. There's no real measurement to it. Then I like to put that pump on full blast. I'll put it on there for about 10 minutes and just let that citric acid go to work.
2 very boring minutes later. Soon after.
After all of that is clean, we have this unit right here. At this point, I like to separate it and get into the guts. About every 6 months, I do a deep cleaning, but for now, I just switch out the blades and make sure everything is spinning properly. I think it was Jake Adams from Reef Builders who, on one of his platforms, was going through the importance of flow, at which point I realized just how important flow is. And I'm just going to paraphrase. And this has been a while that I've seen that video. The coral takes the light to grow. But while it's growing, it will produce toxins within the coral. So yes, the light is very important for it to grow. But if it is that you yourself, you're growing and you are just in a room filled with toxins, you will not survive. So that's where flow comes in play. The flow is what blows away the toxins from the coral, keeping them healthy. Not only is it blowing away the toxins, but it's also blowing potential food to the corals. And just based on that explanation that I kind of got from him, that led me to understand why flow is so important in your tank. And that's why, even though at this point I don't have a battery backup, if I would implement a battery backup to my tank, I would mainly focus on having flow in the tank in the case of any power outage. I've been running one of these gyres. This is an ice cap gyre. I've been running one of these for about 2 years. Yep, it's about 2 years now. Not this particular one. This is my newer one. The other one I already cleaned. The other one mounted like this, where it is pushing the flow above all the corals and it's just blowing the whole tank with flow. This particular one I have mounted on the opposite side like this. This one right here is close to where all my euphyllias are. And this is what I use to give some random flow to that side of the tank. So on this bad boy right here, it's pretty easy to take apart. What I like to do is just go ahead and undo it, as you can see. And this has been on for about a month, was the last time I cleaned it. Normally what I would do is I'll get a toothbrush and I'll just put it in there and kind of clean that gunk out. I'm not going to do it right now, but you could get the idea. Same with this side, just a little twist, you can get it off. Same thing right here. One thing to note is they do have some markers right here that you could use to line this up. I used to be cautious of how I line them up until up to about a year ago. and this was before I even bought this one, that I just stopped. I just honestly didn't care. I didn't feel like the corals would suffer if the flow was different. There's a reason why we have random flow in the tank. So as long as it's going into the general direction that I wanted it to, I have no problem with it not being exactly the way it was last time. That's just my personal opinion. I think some people are different, but every now and again I'll see it a little bit different, even while it's running. And if I don't like how it's flowing, I will stick my hand in the tank and switch it off. But you can see there are markers here and here to help to align it if it is that you want to keep it the same way. As you can see, these also just slide off. What's nice is they are color coded, so you have a red and a green end. I also should show these are also color coded so that you know which one goes on what side. As you can see, there's a little bit of buildup right there. Nothing I'm worried about. I did give these more in-depth cleaning the last time, so I'm not too worried about it. I might just go ahead and run this under some water from the faucet just to kind of clear that up. But even on the inside, I'm not sure if you could see that. On the inside, that right there also has color code. So that's the green side, and that is the red side. But again, these normally just propel fairly easy. Last time, not on this one, but the other one, I did not clean it for some time, and the buildup was so bad on the inside. It was terrible. It was to the point that the other pump didn't spin. And I had to separate it, get the toothbrush, and kind of brush it out, and then start to spin. At which point I actually left this in a bucket. I didn't think of anything that could go wrong. Still spinning, but I just left it like this in a bucket for about 20 minutes with some citric acid just to kind of clear that up. One other good thing that I've noticed, especially with like just noise, is these. I am not going to take it off right now, but I'll take one off to show. You have these rubber feet. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4 on that. They hold the pump upright. Pretty easy. I just slip that one back on and it goes over the magnet right there. This magnet is very strong, to say the least. A few times I've tried to put these on and it slipped, and I thought my tank broke just because of how strong these magnets are. So if you do have one of these, be cautious of how strong that magnet is. What I recommend is having this somewhere on the glass and have the magnet somewhere else, and you slowly bring them together. I believe that is the safest way to do that. But yeah, as you can see, fairly easy to disassemble. I'm just going to run this under a little bit of tap water just to kind of clear that up right now. And then I'll be right back. Now for the reassembly. What's nice, these are the ones that I just took off. I believe in the packaging, these are the ones that are on it. But when you open your box, you'll notice that you also have another set, different colors. Why I like the other colors is that I could tell the difference. Say I just separated them all and put them in a bucket. I can remember, okay, I had orange on the last time, now it's not black. One thing I don't like about the colors that they give you, and this is me just nitpicking, the orange really stands out. So when you're running it, you could see that orange. I like that look. The black, it blends in. I don't know if there's anyone other that's 3D printing these, but there you go. That's an idea. If you wanted to do a different color, that would be awesome. Just for, especially if you have a tank theme that you're going with and you could match that tank theme with the colors of the blade. Perfect. But assembly is just as easily as the disassemble. So Let's just take them apart. You can see that's the red side. So it's as simple as putting those on, just like that. One thing I noticed the last time I was reassembling, and this was the first time that I've ever had that, was I believe I'd push these caps just a little bit too hard onto the unit, and it didn't want to spin. So that's just something that I would say to take note of near reinstalling. Just don't put them on too tight. What you could also do is when you're putting them on, you could run it for a quick second before you put it back into the tank, just to see if they spin. If they spin, you know you're good to go. So yeah, I believe this was the one that was the issue. I believe there's a little bit of gunk buildup in this, and that's why. But I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on the tank, and I'll see.
So I've already gone ahead and tested the pump outside of water, and everything is spinning just fine. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the magnet back on. As I was saying, you could see how strong that magnet is. It literally just pulled the pump all the way over here. This is normally how I go ahead and adjust my magnet. You see right there, set it up, and then just turn it back on. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Until next time, peace.